Good evening, guys and dolls, cats and kittens. I hope you're doing well out there, being safe, being healthy, looking out for yourself and looking out for others as well. I wanted to touch base with you on a story. You can judge for yourself whether it's real or not, but it does lay certain thoughts that I think we all should consider in the state of the world that we're in right now. When I was a kid, I spent a lot of time alone. I used to watch TV quite a bit. I loved the old movies. I watched a lot of sci-fi, supernatural, the black and white ones going to the moon. There was a lot of artificial intelligence involved in those movies back then. And so I always knew that it could one day become a problem or something that you'd have to worry about or something that might take over the world. Anyway, um, so that brought me to the fact that there have been articles floating around the internet, but I also heard Elon Musk talk about it as well, about a woman who said that either in Korea or Japan, they were manufacturing these military style robots to go in and overpower certain countries. And these robots, four of them were at almost completed. And they just started going wild and annihilated like 29 of the professors or laboratory people that were there, and one of them was trying to put itself back together, and then was trying to connect to the satellite to find out not only how to put itself back together, but to put itself back together better than it was before. Now, whether that part be true or not, the fact of the matter is that the military and across the world, governments are depending on these robotic soldiers to go out and get control of other areas. The problem with this is that financially, say, comes back to Indians and Europeans again. They have so much technology and the Indians don't, or, other cultures that didn't, that were just basically annihilated. So it's basically putting us in that same position again. Some of the headlines that have been on there recently, coming to a battlefield, robots that can annihilate. They used a different word in the Atlantic. The Pentagon's Terminator conundrum, robots that could annihilate on their own, New York Times. China and the US are fighting a major battle over annihilating robots and the future of AI. Time. UK, US, and Russia among those opposing annihilating robots. Ban. The Guardian. Tech leaders, killer robots would be dangerously destabilizing force in this world. Washington Post. Death by algorithm. The age of annihilating robots is closer than you think. Bots. Lethal autonomous weapons, sometimes called annihilating robots, replacing that word there, are military-grade weapons controlled by artificial intelligence. Some see these devices as an opportunity, while others consider their development to be a significant threat. This episode, or what we're talking about today, lays out the risk that they pose and the controversy around them. A new California law became effective that requires every municipality in the state to list and define the authorized uses of all military-grade equipment in their local law enforcement agencies. The original draft of the SFPD's policies, San Francisco Police Department, was silent on the matter of robots. Aaron Peskin, a member of the city's board of supervisors, added a line to the SFPD's original draft policies that stated, robots shall not be used as a force against any person. The SFPD crossed that out with a red line, they're serious there, and returned the draft. Their altered proposal outlines that robots will only be used as deadly force option when the risk of loss of life to members of the public or officers are imminent and outweigh any other force option available to the SFPDs. Robots could also keep suspects safe too, Callow points out. I beg to differ on that fact. The robots are still going to be, in this instance, controlled by human beings at the other end, which does give them the opportunity to completely take over a situation and control a group of people or the suspect as well. When officers use lethal force at their discretion, often the justification is that the officer felt unsafe and perceived a threat. Well, that's what I'm saying. They could still do that and now just send the robot in to finish up their light work, so to speak. The first time a robot was reported to be used by law enforcement as a deadly force in the United States was in 2016 when the Dallas Police Department used a bomb disposal robot armed with an explosive device to kill a suspect who had shot and killed 5 police officers. So they sent in the robot with armed device on it and blew the suspect to hell. Paul Scheer is the author of Army of None, Autonomous Weapons and the Future of War. He helped create the U.S. policy of autonomous weapons used in war. He notes there is an important distinction between how robots are used in the military versus law enforcement. Ding, ding, ding. For one, robots used by law enforcement are not autonomous, meaning they still are controlled by a human. For military, they're used in combat against an enemy, and the purpose is to annihilate the enemy. That is not and should not be the purpose of a police force. Ding, ding, ding. He says they're there to protect citizens, and there may be situations when there are need to use deadly force, but those should be absolutely a last resort, which I think that's not going to be happening. We've seen it too many times on TV, how, certain situations are handled by certain groups of individuals in a controlled enforcement position. I don't say all of them, but there's, enough of them to bring up this concern. What is concerning about the FSPD's proposal is that it doesn't seem to be well thought out. Ding, ding, ding. So when Linda Moulton Howe, an American journalist and New World Order conspiracy theorist, stirred up controversy with her speech about dangers of artificial intelligence at the Los Angeles Conscious Life Expo in December 2018. In particular, she claimed that 4 AI robots killed 29 humans in Japan and warned that there's nothing you can do to stop it once an AI wakes up and replaces human beings as the dominant species on Earth. Is she right? I'll let you decide. One point that is key to understanding is that even though artificial intelligence can be a danger, it will likely be very far away from remotely close to becoming dangerous like that. I don't know. I don't have a lot of faith in the government being honest with us about everything. Furthermore, many things need to happen before AI becomes something of an advanced and terrifying as what is portrayed in the movies. Mary Wardham of Human Rights Watch said, "The security of the world and future of humanity hinges on achieving a ban on annihilating robots. Autonomous weapons in development include the Samsung Century weapon, which reportedly guards the South Korean border." Now that freaks me out. So the story goes in the clip, Howe says, at a top robotics company in Japan this week, 4 robots being developed for military applications annihilated 29 humans in the lab. And they did it by disposing their weapons with metal bullets. "I didn't know there was any other kind," somebody had remarked. The scariest part is lab workers deactivated two of the bots, took apart a third, but the fourth began restoring itself and somehow connected to an orbiting satellite to download information how to rebuild itself even more strongly than before. There's something wrong and creepy with that whole thing. Something about it doesn't sound entirely true. The problem here is not that machines will make such errors and humans won't. It's that the difference between human error and an algorithmic error is the difference between mailing a letter and tweeting. The scale, scope, and speed of annihilating robot systems ruled by one targeting algorithm deployed across an entire continent could make misidentifications by individual humans, like a recent U.S. drone strike in Afghanistan. Seems more rounding errors by comparison. Autonomous weapons expert Paul Scher uses the metaphor of the runaway weapon to explain the difference. A runaway weapon is a defective machine that continues to fire after a trigger is released. It continues to fire until the ammunition is depleted or it goes, stops, or a human being stops it. There is some kind of human interaction there, which is important. But in the AI world, importantly, AI must not be defective to produce that runaway weapon effect. Multiple studies on algorithm errors across industries have shown the very best algorithms operating as designed can generate internally correct outcomes that nonetheless spread terrible errors across populations. The problem is not that when AI systems err, they err in bulk. When we say in bulk, we are talking about human beings there. Is that when they err, is that their mistakes often don't know why they did it and therefore how to correct them. The black box problem of AI makes it impossible to imagine the morally responsible development of autonomous weapons systems. The militaries developing autonomous weapons are now proceeding on the assumption that they will be able to contain and control the use of autonomous weapons. That's so laughable. But if the history of weapons technology has taught the world anything, it's this: weapons spread. Look at the state of the cartel, underworld, and everything else right now. There's your proof right there. Market pressures could result in the creation and widespread sale of what can be considered autonomous weapon equivalent of the Kalashnikov assault rifle. Annihilating robots that are cheap, effective, and almost impossible to contain as they circulate the globe. The Kalashnikov autonomous weapons could get into the hands of people outside of government control, including international and domestic people who want to hurt the world for their own political purposes. Asymmetric wars, that is, wars waged on the soil of nations but lack competing technology, are likely to become more common. Finally, autonomous weapons will undermine humanity's final stopgap against war crimes and atrocities. If anything, it's going to magnify it. The irate woman has claimed, okay, so that leads us to the end of part 1. I do have a part 2 and a more complete segment in my Patreon page, which I'm starting this year as well. So I do have a part 2 there. I would appreciate it if you go there and check it out. In the meantime, if you don't have time for that, please like and subscribe to the video that I'm posting now. I appreciate you all. I love you all. Stay safe. Like and subscribe and hit that alarm button so you know when my next episode is coming up, which should be next Monday. With that, take care, be safe, be cognizant of your surroundings, and stay healthy. Love you all. Good night.
Standing by. Standing by.
Now you are dead.